Hi everybody, it's Martin from the Washboard Resonators. On this week's YouTube video, it's another guitar story, and I'm going to feature this incredible 1930s gold resonator guitar. If you've seen previous guitar story videos, you'll have seen a feature on this 1934 National Stylo. I bought this National guitar from a fine man that became a friend, and every instrument here belonged to that man. This instrument was his, he gigged it, he gave me at different times parts of the story, other people have given me parts of the story. I can take us back definitely to the early 1970s and into the 1960s with previous owners, and we'll get to find out about how this instrument came to have a neck that had been turned into a totem pole, how it was covered in jewels, how it had some weird pickup systems and it's been changed to make it really usable. We'll also find out about how this guitar has twice been bequeathed by somebody nearing the end of their life and just given away for free to the next person so that they can make music with it. It's a great tale. I can't wait to try and make sense of it and share it with you. So if you like old guitars, resonators, blues music, and you want to support our channel, press subscribe, press the bell icon, and you'll get notified of future videos. If you want to see old videos, go into the profile, go down the video section, there's loads of stuff there for you. So the way this video will work is we'll just look at what the instrument is, then we'll do the history starting at the beginning as far back as I can get up to nowadays times. It's the 30th of December 2020 as I film this, and then at the end I'll play it a little bit, I'll plug it into an amplifier so we can hear the gold foil, and I've got a few thoughts about the finish and if it's really an original gold, so I'll share those with you at the end. So what is the instrument? Well, we know that as it stands, it's a Dobro with a rolled edge, quite a rare instrument, probably 1935 to 38. It's got a gold finish, it's got weird holes in it all over and on the front. It now has a national resonator cone in it instead of a Dobro resonator cone, and it's got this relatively recent neck with this lap steel brand badge on it. So I've got definite history back to 1972-73. The owner then was a man called Colin Brooks. Now Colin lived in London and he was an expert on resonators. Apparently, I'm told, an unbelievable musician, a great lap steel player and collector of instruments. Apparently he had hundreds of instruments at one time. And when Colin got this, it was, apparently, the neck had been shaped like a totem pole with faces in it. It had jewels encrusted into it, Hank Special written on it, and it had had a headstock grafted onto the neck, which was off like a fancy old Hofner. In doing research about this instrument, I spoke to the world's leading resonator expert, a man called Mark Makin, who, you should get his book, it's amazing, it's incredible. Mark was friends with Colin and he remembers this gold instrument in Colin's flat in London, or his house in Lewes near Brighton. And Mark said that he was pretty sure that Colin got this from the Ivor Morant's music shop in London. We think we've got the history back to the 1960s as well. It's not conclusive proof, but we can pretty safely say that this instrument was probably owned previously by a man called Les Weston. Now, Les Weston was a kind of country and western singer going around Britain. He had another resonator guitar, which was definitely his, that had also had the neck carved like a totem pole and jewels put onto it. And as this was the same, you could pretty much guarantee it was done by him. Apparently, Les Weston performed with Long John Baldry, who was a performer that people like Rod Stewart used to perform with back in the 60s. So I've not been able to find much more information, but that seems to be who Les Weston was. If you know anything, please comment below, email, Instagram. We'd love to find out more about this guy. So this instrument is in Colin Brooks' collection through the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. Around 2009-ish, Colin gets diagnosed with brain cancer. And unfortunately, he knows that, he only has a limited amount of time to live. So Colin, as an instrument collector, was friends with Chris Steinhauer, who I bought these from, and also Lee Holiday, who now owns this instrument. Colin gets Chris to help liquidate and sell his collection of instruments. As part of that deal, Colin says to Chris Steinhauer, "You can take the gold Dobro, you can just take that, that's for you. I'd want you to get some life out of it, now that I'm not going to be around much longer." Well, Chris takes the guitar and decides, well, Colin's still got time. I'll send it away, we'll get this neck taken off that's unplayable, and I'll turn it into a working instrument, so at least Colin gets to actually play this amazing instrument properly while he's here. So Chris takes the instrument to John Alderson, who has a company, Delta Guitars, here in Britain. Now, John Alderson is somebody I've never met or spoke to, but I hear nothing but good from so many different places. And what John does is take this instrument, he builds it, a mahogany neck with an ebony fretboard and a rosewood veneer, and gets it so it's playable. So back then it had the Dobro cone, I believe a Crevo pickup, the pots, and while this work's going on, before Chris has a chance to get it back and get it to Colin Brooks, sadly Colin passes away. So Chris is left with this guitar, and Chris turns it into his primary gigging instrument. If you saw that video about the 34 Stylo, I talk about Chris being a full-time professional musician, and this instrument became, his primary gigging guitar. So 5 or 6, 7 years pass with Chris playing this guitar, and Chris starts to suffer some quite serious heart attacks, and he starts to kind of lose his ability to play his guitar as well as he could do in the past. So the guitar kind of gets retired, and this is about the time that I meet Chris, around 2017-ish, 16, 17. And when I meet Chris, he's already quite ill. And all this time, Chris is telling me about this gold guitar, because I've seen pictures of it and I've seen videos of it, and I keep saying, what about this gold guitar, Chris? We discuss this guitar a lot, because I've always been interested in Tampa Red and gold resonators, and in my solo sets, I play 14 frets with electric pickups. So this to me was like the most incredible thing ever. So the story goes, Chris had left this in his will for after he was dead. And then Lee told me the story. I hope I quote it right here. I've made notes, but one day Chris calls Lee up and he says, "Why wait until I'm dead? Come and get it." So I think the next day or the next week, Lee set off at 5 in the morning from his house near London up to Lowestoft, took Chris out for breakfast, hung out all day, and took the guitar home. I think that was around 2018. So what did Lee get when he got his hands on this guitar? Apparently the guitar didn't intonate very well, because originally it had what's called an offset spider bridge for the Dobro cone. And Chris had lost the spider. So they put a normal Dobro spider bridge in. But it meant that the intonation wasn't right because of the scale length. So Lee decides, we'll take the Dobro gubbins out, they're all Bitzers, we'll just put in a national. Which is interesting, when the Dobro company invented these, they invented them with the right size to take a national cone inside their Dobro guitar. Well, Lee did that. Also, he says the Crevo pickup that was on had stopped functioning. So he decided that where the hole was, a gold foil pickup would just cover it, would sound good, and would match the guitar. One of my favourite details is this Premier Vox badge on the guitar headstock. Well, Lee put this on, and it's a nod to both Colin and Chris, because when Chris was selling off a load of Colin's instruments, there was this Premier Vox lap steel, and Colin used to play it and love it. And then when Chris sold it, unfortunately, it got broken in the mail and got sent back. So it ended up being parted out, and Lee ended up with the husk of the lap steel. And so what he did was take the nameplate off this Bakelite 1930s lap steel, and attach it to the headstock. So it's because both men kind of owned that and used that instrument. So that brings us up to now, the end of December 2020. How come I've got it? Well, about 20 minutes from my house here in Leeds is a company called Beltona Instruments that are one of the world's leading resonator makers and experts, a man called Steve Evans, who is amazing. Well, Lee's was sending this up just to get it finally set up because it just needed tweaking and sorting out, and Steve's the expert. So Lee said, look, do you want to have a go on that gold guitar you know you've heard so much about but you've never played? I said, yeah. And he said, well, look, it's going up to Steve Evans, 20 minutes from your house. When Steve's finished it, why don't you just go and pick it up, take it home, have it for a month or two, maybe even do a guitar story video, and then you can get to just see what the guitar's all about, and then you send it back to me down here near London. So there it is. This instrument has been something I've been fascinated with for a good 4 or 5 years perhaps. And I only knew snatches of the story, and in getting this guitar and then speaking to Lee, speaking to Mark Makin, Lee even sent me some notes where he kind of timelined it. I've made my own notes, and I've managed to place all the bits together. It all makes so much sense now, and I'm honoured to have this here in my house, surrounded by these instruments that Chris Steinhauer had. So it's a really cool, usable instrument now. To all intents and purposes, it's a Dobro, but it's got the national system, the Lola gold foil pickup, which is a great sounding pickup. So acoustically, it's pretty clear, I think. It's really slinky to play. The pickup's interesting. Gold foils are quite clear, almost like Strat-like pickups. Lovely clear sound. Turn the tone down. It's almost a jazz sound, it's nice. I love these with the distortion. So I spoke to Mark Makin. I got lots more of the story because I didn't realise to what degree he was a friend with Colin and had known this instrument. And I love chatting to Mark, but one of the things I was really interested in talking about was, well, what is this? Is it a Regal Dobro? Because the Regal factory made Dobros, or is it a Dobro made Dobro? Often a Regal has these F-holes and a Dobro will have a round one, but it's not always the case, and it's hard to say. Probably a 35 to 38, probably Regal made. I was interested in the gold finish. Is this an original gold finish? Mark has seen Taj Mahal's gold Dobro and in person, and he said it's the same kind of finish. It's a kind of lacquer finish, like a tinted lacquer, like you might see on a trumpet or a saxophone. So there's an idea that this could be an original gold finish. In some places, the quality of the finishing isn't that good. So it's hard to say. Could be original, might not be. Either way, it's really cool. So thanks really must go to Lee for lending me this guitar. We get in a little way to honour all these people. You know, whether it's Les Weston, Colin Brooks, Chris Steinhauer, Lee. It's wonderful that the history of these can go down the line. I must give thanks as well to Mark Makin for taking the time to talk me through the details of this instrument and share with me his memories of it and Colin. And my thanks must go to you for making it this far. It's a lot of information, quite head spinning. But if you've enjoyed this or things like it, then check out other videos, subscribe. My name is Martin. The band is the Washboard Resonators, and we're on Spotify and Instagram and all that. We hope to keep making these videos. We're on lockdown, we're professional musicians. We're not allowed to go out and do anything except eat and watch TV, and maybe make a video and maybe write some new songs. So do support us how you can, and thank you everybody. Bye-bye for now.